pase, pierna derecha, directo al arco, ¡golazo! ¡Golazo!
The world of football with a soccer perspective. This is Soccer Today with Duane, Rollins and Kevin Laramee, live on the Sports Podcasting Network.
And good day, good night. Welcome to Soccer Today for January 24th, 2018. A lot of news this week, and every time we finish a show knowing what's going on, apparently things change, and the ebb and flow of the soccer news cycle is continuing. And Duane, I want to start before we go deeper into the Laren situation. Baluta Blah, we mentioned yesterday how, I can see him going like in a championship, or I was mentioning maybe he's going to sign with a big club and then be loaned out. Well, the more and more the day unfolded yesterday, the more details we had, Duane, and Baluta Blah, apparently the Montreal Impact are in negotiations with FC Barcelona and are close to an agreement for the transfer of young prodigy Baluta Blah. I didn't say Canadian. I didn't say Ivory Coast either. I just said prodigy. One day we will know his decision, which country he plays for. But Duane, Baluta Blah may be going to Barcelona B.
B, for sure. Let's not get crazy here, folks. Look, the name Barcelona is going to get a lot of people excited, particularly a lot of Canadian soccer fans that are still holding up hope. I think that if you're a Canadian soccer fan, we've had prodigies play at, say, a big club like, just randomly picking one, Bayern Munich, Manchester United, and it didn't work out for us. So maybe we'll just let this one, let it play out. If you're from Montreal, maybe just enjoy it from a Montreal perspective. He is a guy that is from that city, lived there for a while, came through the academy, blah, 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 all that good stuff. So that's a good story there. And he hasn't yet completely declared for the Ivory Coast. But if this is a guy at Barcelona B, you'd have to think that the Ivory Coast is going to be in there pretty quickly looking for him,
if not already on the radar. But we'll see how important this move is for personally for Baluta Blah. And in the words of Adam Braz yesterday, when in the Montreal Impact scrum in the opening day of the training camp, he was saying it's a positive thing for the Impact because it will make the name the Montreal Impact resonate in some places in Europe, because, here's a new signing, Baluta Blah. Where is he from? Oh, he's from Montreal Impact. There you go. Name resonates. And on top of it, it gives Barcelona as well a new market, a new country to try to sell some gears, some jersey. Not that they need the publicity, but there will be a certain attachment created from this part of the world because of a former Montreal Impact players playing at least in the development system of Barcelona. But FC Barcelona, Duane, we talk about Barcelona B, which is their second team in the Segunda Division, which is the second division in Spain. Still not too bad. Players like some player I've heard at least once or twice, I think, called Lionel Messi. How do you pronounce it? Messi? Lionel Messi? Yeah, so a certain player like this played there, and Sergio Busquets, a flower, played there too. So two pretty good players coming out of this team, which maybe Baluta Blah will join.
Yeah, and look, it's not quite the same like lone army like Chelsea has, but obviously Barcelona's development system is pretty renowned, and what you'll see is a lot of these guys, very few of these guys are going to ever play for Barcelona properly. I mean, this is the ultimate goal of some of the greatest footballers in the world, and they have a lot of money where they can bring players in from other clubs that have already fully developed. So to get to that stage is going to be a very, very long road. Nonetheless, but to get into that system and to get into that sort of environment is going to be something that's quite amazing for this young kid. And look, I'd love to be excited about it from a Canadian perspective, as I said, but I can't be, because I just don't think I think this makes it less likely, right? Like, obviously, yeah, it's just kind of sad that way. But just looking at it from the kid's perspective, from the Impact's perspective, as you said, that's a good thing. And if he doesn't make Barcelona proper, there's a lot of examples of guys that have moved on from Barcelona B to go play and have very significant careers at fairly large clubs throughout Europe. So good for him, and it speaks well to the fact that we can produce talent through the academies here. Now, he had some raw talent going in, no doubt, but he still was framed and formed by his experience here in Canada, and you can't deny that. And I talked to a few people yesterday just about this and about sort of frustrations around how, a guy can sort of use the Canadian system to a certain point until it no longer benefits him and then just move on. And that's the FIFA rules kind of allow that to be taken advantage of. And I don't know what the answer is, because every system you suggest has the ability for it to be manipulated. But
not just that,
anyway,
Duane,
here we are.
Canada's taking something out of this too. No matter if Baloo chooses Ivory Coast or Canada, Baloo helped the Canadian U20 to perform very well to beat England in the World Cup. That was Baloo's contribution. And you say like he quote unquote exploited the academy system in Canada? No, he took what he could. He came here and had an opportunity that he would not have in other cases. This country, this Montreal Academy system and country of Canada gave this player an opportunity that he would not have. And maybe it will create a great reputation for the soccer program here to maybe redo that. Next time, maybe the prodigy will be even younger and come here and spend more time. And maybe that time he'll stay here and declare for Canada. That's how important this could be. Not just on the club level. It does just not resonate the word of the name of the Montreal Impact abroad. It does, in my mind, validate the Canadian development system to a certain point, to a certain degree, and maybe creates another Baloo Tabla down the road. Maybe creates 10 Baloo Tablas down the road. And that is all I can dream, because out of 10, maybe 7, 8 will decide to play for the Maple Leaf.
Well, it was a friendly, not the World Cup, by the way, because Canada hasn't qualified for the 20 World Cup since 2008 when they hosted. So, and they haven't really qualified since 2006. So that's a little depressing, but nonetheless, that's what it is. I know what you're saying, and I think the other way to look at it too is that there were, a year ago at this time, we were talking about we feared losing both of the phenoms that we had out there, Baloo and Davies, and we got Davies. So 50% for Canada in its past history. I guess that's okay.
Yeah, not bad. Speaking of Canadian soccer, and this is apparently done. We'll see in the next few days. Cal Laramee was seen training yesterday with Besiktas, pushing the negotiations even more into a dark corner. But what do you think now? What did you find out since yesterday, Duane?
Look, I mean, what is happening here is that the Laren camp believes that they are no longer contractually bound to MLS or Orlando, and Orlando and MLS say that he is. And this may seem like a difficult thing for someone to not know, or for there to be mystery or gray in there. Either you're contracted or you're not. If you're a fan and sort of just casually looks at this, you might think that. But what this is coming down to is these unilateral club options that MLS tags onto all of their standard contracts. And if you don't know, basically your standard MLS contract is 1 year plus 2 straight club options with a 5% increase in pay in each year. That's in the CBA. That's how they sort of do stuff there. And look, the unilateral club option is not something that is particularly looked favorably upon amongst FIFA or in FIFA in the world of soccer. In North America, however, because especially in the United States, there is less sort of positive feelings towards labor, we'll say. So there's more of a bias and more of a sort of inclination to take the businesses side of things when it comes to sort of labor issues, as opposed to the rest of the world. So a unilateral club option is looked at as just, it's in the contract, so he has to deal with it over here. So there's kind of a disconnect there between how North American fans would look at this, or even American fans versus Canadian fans in many ways. But that's what they're challenging. They're challenging the legality of a unilateral club option. If you look at the two mechanisms that they can take to sort of challenge this, CAS and the FIFA sort of, there's a body within FIFA that can look at it as well. Yeah. You'll note and you'll see that there's a chance that Laren could win this battle. That they're not. It's gray. There's also a chance they could lose it.
It's
so
gray.
That's where we're at right now.
And if you go with history, usually Major League Soccer never pushes those. Did you settle before, right? They never go until the end of that court cases, because nobody is really certain if it's going to hold up. So why challenge it? Find a way before to resolve it with that said player. So. Maybe Laren is challenging this, knowing that MLS will just want to pay and to make it go away.
Yeah, Camilo did the same thing a few years ago, right, out of Vancouver. And it's exactly what you just said, is that MLS it's a cost benefit for them. They benefit from having these club options because the pay increase is relatively minor compared to those that FIFA has upheld some unilateral club options, but in all cases in which they have, the pay increase has been significant, like 20% significant, plus other clauses that kick in. So like there's benefit to the player to have this clause click. In this particular case, it's you can make an argument whether basically an inflation raise is what they put into the contracts is beneficial to them, as opposed to being on the open market. And I'm not too sure if FIFA would look favorably upon that. However, there are some examples where they might. But as you said, MLS doesn't want to push this because it benefits them right now. And if they were to lose a case, if they were to go to the arbitration, if they were to go to the CAS, and the CAS or the arbitration were to say, no, these are illegal, then suddenly every player in Major League Soccer is going, yeah, I'm out of contract now, so screw you, MLS, right? And that's going to be something that's very dangerous to them.
That will never happen because nobody will, on both sides, will let it get that far. So what we're saying is that there's going to be a resolution to the Larin case, and I think it's going to happen very quickly, and I think it's going to be Larin sold to Besiktas for about $1.5 million.
Yeah, something will happen, and something will happen that will allow both sides to sort of save face in this, and we'll move on, just like Camilla did, and then it's up to Kyle. The other side of this is I was talking to some, yesterday I had a little bit of an opportunity to speak to a few Turkish journalists, through DM, and they were telling me that what the scuttlebutt over there basically right now is that they have a contract offer on the table that's worth about 1.8 million euros. But it's structured in such a way that if the club or Kyle gets fined for what happens here, that then he would be responsible for paying that. They just dock it off his salary probably. But yeah, so that the club is sort of taking no risk. Besiktas is in this particular case. In fact, I've also been told that he's allowed to train with them only after he showed them that he had, provided himself with insurance. They're not going to cover any liability issues if he gets injured in training while this thing's up and live.
I was onto something yesterday.
Yeah, no, precisely. So they have third-party insurance is what my understanding is over here. So someone is underwriting them until they get this through. And they're expecting to get basically an injunction. They're calling it a temporary ITC, but essentially that's what it's going to be. Is they're going to issue the international transfer certificate for him temporarily until the case is heard or there's a resolution. So that they are confident there is precedent out there of players that have had this happen before. Lauren's representatives are confident that they can get this temporary ITC and that he will begin to play. The other thing that I heard that is kind of interesting is we had talked about the possibility of him getting loaned. The Turkish folks I was speaking to, and again, I want to stress that this is me sort of third-party repeating stuff here. I'm getting information that's being interpreted by people in Turkey. So it's getting translated, then interpreted, and then told to me. So this is broken telephone in many ways. But what I've heard is that they actually intend to keep him, that they believe that he will be useful to them this season.
No, that's
sorry, I had a bit of a sneeze there.
No problem.
But
if he's needed this season, maybe battling for maybe as a super sub to let him acclimatize to the Turkish Premier Turkish Super League. But it is interesting, and so we'll see the resolution in the next few days. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll get our guest on the line, Zach Drake of the Las Vegas Lights, when we come back on this kind of USL Wednesday.
You are listening to Soccer Today. Follow us on Twitter at SoccerTodaySPN and like our Facebook page, facebook.com/Sports Podcasting Network. You can find the podcast version of all the shows we do on iTunes, Apple Podcast, Google Play Store, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, and anywhere you get your podcast.
And we're back on Soccer Today. Kevin Laramee, Duane Rollins on the line, and joining us from the brand new team, the shining, very bright lights of Las Vegas, Zach Drake of the Las Vegas Lights. Good morning, Zach.
Good morning, guys. How are you guys doing today?
Good, Zach. And I guess I called you a soccer nomad on Twitter this morning, so you seem to like that. So I'll get you to sort of describe what your soccer career has looked like for those that aren't familiar with you right now. Just sort of tell us all the places you've been.
Um, so to keep it short and wrap it up in a couple sentences, I grew up in Canada playing, had an opportunity in Brazil with a third division pro team with the youth side. Then after that, came back, went to the U.S., went to university there, got my 4 years. After that, was like, hey, I'm going for this. I'm pushing it. So I shipped off to Germany and started the career there, like kind of climbing the ladder, and played for 2 teams there. Then eventually shipped off to Australia, played for 2 teams there, back to Germany, and then where am I now? Yeah, and then went to Portugal for a half season, and now I'm here back in the U.S.
Take us through a little bit of how you take us through a little bit about how you find teams like that. I mean, you're talking about, and you're fighting to scrape your way into the pro game, and everyone respects that a great deal. But we're not talking about the Barcelonas of the world here. Like, we understand how players get recruited and end up there. So how do you find clubs in Australia, third division clubs in Germany? So how does that process work for you?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of paths that you can take to get into the pro game. You know, there's the academy system, and you can break into the first team, or you have good agents or connections, or you're a superstar. But for your average everyday grinder, what I found was successful for me was just being able to put yourself out there, being okay with rejection and failure, and more or less, like, yeah, putting what you have on the table and saying, hey, I'm willing to come trial for your team, play for your team. Just give me a shot and I'll astonish you. And so that's basically what I did. Whenever I would go to a different country, I would contact, like dozens or hundreds of coaches just to get myself out there. And eventually, you find an opportunity that fits you and fits the team, and then it works out.
Las Vegas Lights, the project that got you back to this continent, to North America, to Las Vegas. What can you tell us about the last few days? The training camp started on Monday, and you now face the possibility of a brand new league, USL, a city that's vibrant, a professional team, the second professional team in Las Vegas after the NHL's Golden Knights. How do you feel just now after a few days of training with your teammates?
Well, it's been fantastic. It's been a very cool experience being a part of a brand new team and everything kind of coming together and seeing it all come together within only a few months. I mean, I was only aware of the team maybe in early December or late November. So being able to, come out and trial with them and then eventually be here with the team, setting everything up, working with the head coach, Chalice. It's a really fantastic experience. And obviously being somewhere where the weather is so nice versus back home in Ottawa, I can't complain there. But it's all just been a really cool experience. And I think the word that I would best use with it is exciting. It's really exciting to be here, to be a part of the new foundation of building sports teams in this city. And it's a really exciting time.
There's so many things I would like to ask you. I want to get back to Chalice, and I want to get back to other things, but it's 2018 now. We live in the era of social media, and a place like Las Vegas, there's 2 ways you can approach it. You either accept your identity of a place in Nevada where gambling is allowed, and you have bright lights, action, entertainment, and go with it, or you do the other way around and you're trying to hide yourself and we're just part here, we're just playing in Nevada, we're just playing soccer. What I love about Las Vegas Lights so far is it starts with the logo, with the name. It starts with the branding of this team. It's like, you know what? We are who we are. We're in Vegas. We have bright lights. We're going to get ourselves a nice logo, a nice kit, and we're going to play soccer. And I like the fact that they're doing it through social media, the awareness of it as well the last few months. And Zach Drake, you're popular on social media as well. It's kind of a marriage of best of both worlds. What I'm wondering is, what is about this branding that is resonating to people like me across the continent? What makes it so special?
It's just so bold. They just whenever I've heard the owner Brett talk, or people interacting with Chalice, our head coach, everything that we want to build with this team is just this really edgy, bold, like they say it has to have this smell of Las Vegas to it. So it's a really, again, that's why I say it's exciting. Something I haven't really been a huge part of before with my previous teams, but they're really going for like a high entertainment value, really aggressive football. Like it's going to be super entertaining, and just the whole thing. As a side note, having Chalice being the type of guy that goes out, meets his supporters, buys them beers, he smokes cigarettes. He's just a really bold character.
He's so
and
Vegas.
It'll reflect on our team.
Yeah, he certainly is a bold character. Zach, I am curious. The Golden Knights have had a remarkable season so far this year, getting a lot of attention up here. Obviously, the hockey angle there. They got the Raiders coming in a couple of years. Do you think this is a good time to try and be jumping in as a professional sports franchise in Las Vegas, or is it going to be a challenge to sort of get attention away from what has been a remarkable story with the Golden Knights and the massiveness of the Raiders coming in a year or so time?
Yeah, so those two teams are huge, going to be they are and are going to be big, portions or parts of Las Vegas. But there really is a market here for football, for soccer. And it's shown with, people coming out to support the club, the hype that's being built around it. But there's a lot of soccer culture here. And I think it's a great time to be a part of it as well. And I might as well include, there's also a brand new professional WNBA team coming. So yeah, sports on every angle, every part of the city. It's turning into a sports industry city. So I definitely believe there's lots of room for soccer.
I can't imagine that growing up in Ottawa, you ever thought you'd be a professional soccer player in Las Vegas, but here you are. I guess the world's a strange place that way. Speaking of Ottawa and Canada, I wonder how much scuttlebutt there is in the player community amongst folks that you know of, other Canadians that are playing the game professionally, about the start of the Canadian Premier League, which is now has a start date of next spring. Is that something that gets talked about around the soccer world and around Canadians that are playing the game?
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of undeniable. It's not something that we can, we can't not talk about it now that, people are putting themselves on the map, and it's coming together again too. So between the people in my little things that they're thinking, how successful it's going to be, like what's going to happen if they're looking to move into that, since, being a Canadian wanting to play in their home country. And I'm really interested in seeing how it unfolds. I'm sort of keeping my ear to the ground, not necessarily forming lots of opinions, but I'm just, again, I would say excited about seeing the opportunities that are coming in Canada for soccer. It's something that when I was 11 or 12, I didn't think it would come together like this. So it's a good development.
Speaking of 11 or 12, there's one question I always ask every soccer player on our show, Zach. With hindsight, what advice would you give to 10-year-old Zach Drake training on the pitch in Ottawa? What would you tell him? What advice would you tell little Zach?
So that's a tough one. My initial response to a question like that would be to talk about failure and losing games and, all the kind of sadness that happens from, say, trying out with a team and not making it. I would like to tell him to embrace those failures and, know that mistakes are the best path to success and all of that. But I don't think my 10-year-old self would comprehend it like I do now. Like in retrospect, when I look back to my experiences, say in Brazil, I understand that that's what helped shape me into who I am now. But 10-year-old Zach wouldn't really get that concept of failure, because it is hard in the moment, when you lose and everything like that. So I would probably have to tell him, I guess more or less, enjoy yourself. Just the passion and love for the game. Stick with it. Don't be too upset about losing, and just enjoy yourself. That's one of the main ones.
Zach, I'm curious at this stage of your career, playing in the USL, what your long-term vision is, view is of what your career is going to go. Are you looking already to the next stage, trying to set up maybe a coaching career, trying to stay in the game, or are you looking to hold on to chase the dream as high as you can get? What do you think you're going next within the game?
Yeah, that's a great question. I've had sort of shifting targets as I've played in different areas of the world. Say, Germany, I was looking for, top leagues in Europe. When I went down to Australia, I was playing second division, and the goal was to play in first division. So I'm always pushing myself a little bit farther. But I think that's one of the best ways to live is, set goals that are maybe 50% achievable. So it's possible, but hey, you got to work hard for it. So definitely when I finally came back to North America, I have, my goal set for MLS. I definitely want to play for MLS, an MLS side in Canada would be fantastic. But other than that, grounding in the new season and new year, I'm just looking to astonish and play my heart out and grow as a player in the USL, playing for Las Vegas Lights.
Zach Drake of the Las Vegas Lights, thank you very much for your time today, Zach. You can follow Zach on Twitter at Zach Drake Coaching. Zach, good luck this season.
Thank you so much, guys. Really nice to talk to you.
We'll be right back after this short break.
You are listening to Soccer Today. Follow us on Twitter at SoccerTodaySPN and like our Facebook page, facebook.com/Sports Podcasting Network.
And we're back on Soccer Today. Duane Rollins with myself, Kevin Laramee. A little trip across the pond to England to finish the show, Duane. We do have a few big transfers that were made official since Monday. A certain Alexis Sanchez. Oh, Sanchez. Yeah. The guy who everybody's been talking about for about 5 months finally moved to United for a straight swap with Mickey. You're so fine. You blow my mind, Mkhitaryan. Now to Arsenal.
Yeah, look, I mean, he was linked to City for a long time. And eventually at the last minute made the switch. There is a suggestion, and I don't know how much of this is United fans trolling City fans or what, that the reason he ended up choosing United over City was because of United's long history of winning, as opposed to City's long history of citying. So that's maybe
has nothing to do with the check or the contract that he's been offered by United. No, that makes him the highest paid player ever to play in the Premier League. No, it has nothing to do with that, of course.
Look, he's a brilliant player, and obviously, I think he deserves some credit for putting his head down in the first half of the season and getting the job done for Arsenal. There was no way that he played that could ever point out that he was mailing in performances. I think that even though he clearly wanted out, that there was a lot of evidence that he still put the effort in. You got to give him credit for that. I think there's been in the past, we've seen players that have been demanding transfers sort of sulk their way through the last little bit that they've had there, and certainly there's been those examples, City with Tevez, and when you go back to Argentina, you look at Adebayor and every stop he's ever made. Like, there's players that do those sort of things.
Maluda, there's a lot that happened if you go team to team. But so both those transfers are now.
Or Costa now too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I tried to block it off my mind, but yeah, Costa, you're right.
Yeah, exactly. So you got to give him some credit there. In terms of what it will mean for the Premier League race this year, I think at the 12 points, it's going to be a little bit difficult for United to possibly rein City in. It would require City to collapse. And even if United was perfect away, we did the math earlier this year. Even if United finishes the season perfectly, it's still highly unlikely that they're going to close 12 points. So it just would require a complete collapse by City, and there's really no evidence that that's going to happen.
You would need four losses in the same time that you get 4 wins for United, almost on the same day, to actually make a lot of strides in that table, right? Because if not, it's just like probability of points. But if you actually win on the weekend while City loses, good. But it happened once in the last 8 months. You're going to think it's going to happen again 4 times in the next 3? I don't think so.
No. This is a move that is done with the other trophies that City is, or so that United is still in the mix for in mind. I'm sure that they don't want their crosstown rivals to get the quad. I always kind of kick myself when I say that, because that includes the Champions League, which is an entirely different topic, really. They don't want them to get the domestic triple for sure. Yeah. And right now, with City beating Bristol City, which was expected yesterday, and hats off to Bristol City. I watched that game.
They played awesome
on my phone here. Yeah, I watched it on my phone, so I wasn't able to really, here and there. I was doing something else at the same time, but certainly, Bristol, through both parts of that tie, were full measures for the level that they are versus the level City's at. And there's got to be a lot of pride within that city and that organization right now for
Duane,
what they did against what is
pretty much a full-strength Man City squad. They conceded 3 times against Bristol City. Bristol is mid-table in the championship right now. Maybelline. No, we're not talking about Maybelline. Maybe she's born with it. I don't know. But maybe you do have Bristol going to battle for a playoff spot. But we're talking about this championship side that pushed City over 180 minutes. Not bad. I'm actually proud of Bristol. So Simon, out there, Bristol's his team. Good job.
It was 85%. City squad was 85%. Bravo was in Fernando didn't play. There were some players that didn't play, but they had Silva and Duane and
Aguero.
And Sterling was the rest. Yeah, Aguero right there. So obviously Jesus is injured right now, obviously. So that took that out of there. But this was a very strong squad that City put out there. They were not screwing around. They wanted to get to Wembley. They wanted to play for a trophy. And as I was saying, to get back to United, they don't want that to happen. So they're going to go full in on the FA Cup for sure, I would imagine. And obviously in the Champions League, which, as I said earlier, is an entirely different topic. And I would have to think that these moves were made with that in mind. And no one's going to say it out loud, but least of all City fans. But City has pretty much wrapped up the title at this point in time by the amount that they're up. So that's not what this move was made. It's made for next year too, because Sanchez is not exactly a young player, and he has the advantage. He's finally going to get a rest this summer because, as we know, Chile, we like to focus a lot on that other team that didn't qualify just south of us. But the Chile not qualifying is probably a bigger upset and a bigger impact on the tournament as a whole, because that's a team that could have won the damn thing had they got there.
Yeah, no. So at least Sanchez will get some recovery time this summer. You were talking about the FA. Speaking of the FA, the Football Association, yesterday, the England national team on the women's side announced their new head coach, their new manager. And then Twitter caught fire.
Yeah, Gary Neville, he doesn't have any direct first-team managerial experience.
Is it Phil or Gary? It's Phil. Yeah, it's Phil.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, it's not Gary. Sometimes I have a cold, so forgive my mind isn't working completely today. I also blocked United players' names out of my head. It's like it's a reflex influence. Anyway, yeah, Neville. He doesn't have any direct first-team experience managing. He's been an assistant at Manchester United. He's been an assistant with the England U21s. He's been an assistant with Valencia, I believe, was with most recently in La Liga at any rate. So he has some assistant jobs, and he certainly played the game at a very high level. There's no doubt about that. So there is not zero qualifications, as some people are sort of suggesting, but certainly it's hard to imagine a national team men's head coach getting named, unless it's here, maybe in Canada. Because we've done that before. We've absolutely done that before. Dale Mitchell, even Stephen Hart really didn't have a ton of first-team managerial experience when he got hired. So unless it's Canada,
how about John Herdman? You hired.
Oh,
it's like the inverted. It's the inverted John Herdman.
Yeah, and look, the suggestion is, and there's truth to this, because there's also came out in his story that his name wasn't, he didn't even officially apply for the job. One of his drinking buddies was having drinks with someone else and said, you should hire old Neville. That's kind of a thing that rubs women's fans the wrong way, because it sort of betrays a sort of level of respect that the English FA has for the England women's job. And it's also, if you look at salaries, which have been figured out, that the last women's manager, Samson Gugg, was paid about £150,000 a year, which is a decent, wage. It's about 300,000 Canadian. But the men, head coach, he gets £1.8 million. So bit of a discrepancy there, and it sort of talks about where they rank these games, these things. And to put it completely, if they'd hired him to manage the U17 men's team, I don't think anyone would bat an eye. They'd go, oh, he's a former player at a high level, wants to get his feet in the game. Yeah, coaching the kids, let's see what he can do. But to come in at a senior level, it does betray a lack of respect. But that said, Kevin, the one thing I will say to women's fans listening out there is, now that it's done, you look at a guy that played for Manchester United that has a major TV sort of platform in the UK. He's very well known over there. This is an opportunity, if they want to embrace it, for them to sort of promote the Lionesses, who are, let's face it, more likely to win a World Cup than the man.
Yeah.
So that would be something, that they could sort of, hang their hat on in a year out from the World Cup. But you have two teams that are in the top 10, both in turmoil in the women's game right now because of managerial confusion. Canada and the UK, or not the UK, pardon me, England. I'm getting slapped down by Scottish, Welsh, and Northern Ireland people right now. But
people are going to be mad at you.
Strange hire.
No, and then when in a hire like this it's the era here. It's the era of social media, right? So when you have a Phil Neville that is appointed at a highly profiled job, then people go on his Twitter and just scroll to time to try to find something. And apparently they did. And that they did. Phil Neville in 2012 was waking up in the morning, take his phone and start writing, "Good morning, man." Just morning. And people are like, why? Did you just say good morning? Explanation the next tweet following was like, well, the women are probably busy doing breakfast and cooking breakfast and taking kids to school, and the men are probably not doing anything. So that's why I just said good morning to men. Sorry, good morning, women. And that is the brand new manager of the England women's national team.
Yeah, look, I mean, we live in a culture that likes to get outraged, right?
That's true.
And
that's true. You're right. I was just mentioning the fact, but you're right. It's true. But yeah.
But that said, I mean, look, I don't want to have people completely hung out to dry for flippant statements they made 5 years ago. I don't think that's fair. But at the same time, if you're, on a hiring committee, if you are getting hired for a public profiled job, I think it should just be instinctive now that people within that organization, and yourself included, scrub your damn Twitter before the announcement's made. It's a big job to go through 6-7 years of tweets, but if you're going in the public field, you got to get rid of anything that might be at all edgy out there, because someone's going to take offense and make an issue out of it, and this is a case of that again.
Yeah, no.
It's got to be just part of the checklist, the new hire checklist, Make sure that they have the orientation.
Get a haircut.
Paperwork. Make sure that,
Get a haircut. Get your brand new shoes. Go to the bathroom before. Get a glass of water. And
scrub Twitter.
Scrub Twitter. And don't forget Facebook, too.
Yeah, Facebook, too. Yeah, and Instagram, too. There was a woman here in Canada that was fired for posting half-naked pictures of herself on Instagram. So there you go.
Yeah, no, exactly. All right. We have a story to follow. We'll maybe know more next week, but apparently MLS in Miami will happen after years of tergiversation. Well, apparently now it's done. There's an event planned on Monday night, maybe an announcement in Miami. The mayor will be there, probably Commissioner Don Garber, and David Beckham will be there, and David Beckham's new partner and partners that were actually made public a few weeks ago will be unveiled as well, probably on Monday. But you know what they say about the cat and the fact that he touches hot water and he's afraid of water after? Well, that's how I feel about Miami.
There you go. Although if this does happen, this one does look like the most likely of all the sort of false starts that we've had with the Miami MLS bid. the one thing I sort of am thinking of right now is, what does this mean for Sacramento? We have not heard the second announcement from the first round of the expansion bid yet. I have a feeling that they're going to announce in Miami and then immediately say that they're going to table everything for the next two bids and put them all back into the mix for those final two spots. And if
there's
Sacramento
still 3
gets
spots,
shut down again,
that's the thing. It was always 4, and Miami was always separate of that. Miami was already in that club, and it was still 4. So we're still technically waiting for Cincinnati, Detroit, or Sacramento to be announced.
Fair enough. I do think it will do. If they don't get the announcement made soon, though, it's going to delay it even further, because right now we're 2018 right now. I suspect that you'll see Nashville come in for 2020 with another team. So whether that's where do you put Miami in there too? Because I don't think they want to go on uneven numbers anymore. I think that they want to always keep the league sort of even. So we'll see. It's a lot of moving parts, and the longer this goes into January, the more trepidation there has to be within Sacramento, though. It just has to be. Like, why aren't they announcing them? If the bid is this much of a slam dunk that everyone thinks it is there, and everyone thought it was there for so many years, then why hasn't it been announced yet? And that's got to be concerning to everyone involved in that bid.
Yeah, because it's going to be Cincy. That's what I think. Anyways, enough for today. We'll be back on Friday with Soccer Today. Tomorrow, it's 5 Rings time, and you can follow, for Olympics fans out there, the curling preview is out already, and you can follow us tomorrow live on 5 Rings. Duane and I will be back as well Friday for another edition of Soccer Today. Thanks to Zach Drake of the Las Vegas Lights for his time today. You can follow Zach on Twitter at Zach Drake Coaching, and as always, actually at Zach Drake 2 is his handle on Twitter. As always, until next time, for Duane Rollins, I'm Kevin Laramee. You like what we do? You like to give us a little pat on the back, a little thumbs up, a little good job? Well, there's a great way to do this. You can go to patreon.com/sportspodcastingnetwork. $1 a month goes a long way. And if Duane and I can get a lot of you guys, if everyone that listens to this show would give $1 a month or $1 every few months, we would have enough to do this full time and hire literally a dream team of soccer reporters that you heard on the show many, many times. We could do this full time. We could have them do their own shows and we could do amazing stuff and become truly the leader of independent soccer news on this continent. And with your help, we can do that. Until next time, as always, have a great soccer.
You can find the podcast version of all the shows we do on iTunes, Apple Podcast, Google Play Store, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, and anywhere you get your podcast.